Water Act was signed into law. In 2022, access to clean water stood at 88.5%, and access to improved sanitation stood at 80.7%. One contrasts this with the apartheid legacy, where by 1994, approximately 30% of the population lacked access to adequate water supply, and more than 50% were without adequate sanitation. If you look at the two statistics, you will then see that tremendous progress has been made. The Department of Water and Sanitation is indeed to be commended for its ongoing efforts to improve water and sanitation across the sanitation and water access across the country. This includes progress towards meeting the minimum standards for the provision of water and sanitation services and addressing connection backlogs. Water infrastructure is being built, and that build process is on the up. It is going up. The National Infrastructure Fund has to date secured 23 billion rand for 7 large water infrastructure projects. And phase 2 of the Lesotho Highlands Water Project has resumed, as has the work on the Umkomazi Dam, and the preparations are underway for the construction of Ntabelanga Dam on the Umzimvubu River. Now, many of these may well have delayed for years and years, and we regret that. We've been talking about a number of these projects, like Umzimvubu Dam, for well over 10 years. But we've now reached a stage in the 6th administration and now in the 7th administration that we are now going to push ahead and allocate money, and serious money that runs into billions of rands, to make sure that we do construct water resources that will enable reticulation to our people as well as to economic centers in our country. That, in my book, is progress. So progress is being made, much as we are going through a number of challenges. Challenges of water shortages in Gauteng, water shortages in eThekwini, and water shortages even in rural parts of our country. We have a number of other water infrastructure projects earmarked for blended financing through infrastructure fund, such as the Podihadi Dam, which will feed 490 million cubic liters of water, of water a year from the Lesotho Highlands into the Vaal River system. Whilst these long-term water infrastructure build projects will undoubtedly mitigate current supply challenges being experienced, we are keenly aware at the same time that security of supply is by no means our only challenge. We are still very much a long way from achieving clean water and sanitation for all, as encapsulated in the Sustainable Development Goal number 6 of the United Nations. Last year's Water Summit identified aging and poorly maintained infrastructure, vandalism of water infrastructure, illegal connections, organized crime in the water sector as some of the challenges facing service delivery in this sector. There are people who make it their business to go and cut water lines, to create businesses for themselves so that they can cut water in trucks and tanks to our people. Now, that is the criminality that has now entered the water space. And this is what we must collectively talk about here and find ways of bringing that to an end. That should end is a must. We must bring that to an end. And suddenly there are all these very important business people who drive around in fancy cars, but who have water trucking businesses, when water should be transported through pipes. No, what they do, they get their henchmen to go and cut the water lines and then make sure that there's failure by the local authority to deliver water, leading to the alternative of relying on them to transport water, because they make money out of transporting water. There's no dignity for our people to be standing alongside the street just tapping water from a truck where somebody is making a lot of money. This must end. We must bring this to an end. Now, at local government level, financial mismanagement, insufficient revenue collection systems, and high levels of physical water losses are compounding existing service delivery problems. The mismanagement in our local government space must also come to an end. We must use modern methods of managing our water. We must use advanced methods of making sure that the management of this very important resource is well managed. These challenges have been consistently reflected in the reports of the Municipal Strategic Self-Assessment, Stats SA, and the Auditor General. She recounts events and instances and cases where water is now treated as a business and where corruption is quite plentiful. With this dire state of affairs, we have seen declining private sector investment in water infrastructure, a situation that is only now improving. By equal measure, municipalities themselves have not reinvested the revenue they earn from the provision of services to the upkeep of key water infrastructure. Governance challenges and inefficiencies at the various reporting entities, including water boards, have long been in the public domain. A number of water boards have been or are the subject of probes by the Special Investigating Unit or the SIU for corruption and fraud. These are problems impacting a country with a growing population. That is one of the most water-scarce countries in the world. Much as the Premier says, we do not have a water availability problem. We do, but the key problem is in bringing water to the people. This water Indaba must be located within the broader global context. The World Resources Institute estimates that the biggest challenge in water demand between now and 2050 will occur in sub-Saharan Africa. It ranks South Africa amongst 25 countries that are extremely water stressed and that are currently using over 80% of their water supply to meet domestic needs. At a global level, the climate crisis will further exacerbate not just South Africa's, but the world's water security. Now, these factors make for what is called a perfect storm, where dry taps, broken infrastructure, and poor management of water resources at local government level is fueling growing public discontent. And we can see it in a number of areas in our country when our people who rely on government to provide water are dissatisfied, are unhappy, and are even taking to the streets protesting about the lack of water. Grievances with water and sanitation delivery are behind a number of social protests across the country. In the State of the Nation address earlier this year, we defined a secure and reliable water supply across the country as an urgent strategic priority. And it is our expectation that this water indaba will be focused, will be precise, and outcomes-based, and not just a talk shop or be about deliberations. And I'd like to congratulate the Minister and colleagues that she works with for holding this indaba soon after the State of the Nation address. It shows that they are becoming action-oriented, and I want to see that continuing going forward, because this indeed is an emergency. What is needed is an urgent and high-level national turnaround plan on water is that it should firstly align to the Government of National Unity's medium-term development plan 2025 to 2029. And secondly, that it should harness the momentum of the reforms in the sector. Operation Vulindlela has prioritized reforms in the water sector to improve water quality, to catalyze investment in the construction and maintenance of water infrastructure, and strengthen regulation in the sector as well. Under the 6th administration, we reintroduced the drop water quality monitoring system as an important incentive. The reports are particularly important in an area where water resources are key to tourism, to agriculture, as well as to other sectors, and basically to the livelihood of our people. As part of the structural reform process that we are involved in, we have been able to significantly reduce the turnaround time for issuing water use licenses. When the business community came to us and said they are at times having to wait for 3 years before they get a water license, we immediately set up a reform team and asked the question, why does it take so long to have a water use license? And in the end, the process of reforming that regulatory framework has led to 75% of applications are now processed within 90 days. An additional 110 technical and scientific staff have been hired to support further process improvements. And we want, in the end, to see the water licensing process to be brought down to a month or even days. Once you have applied, everything must be done to give you that approval. And if you are refused, to give you reasons why you are approved. That is how government should now function. We must function efficiently, we must function using technology, we must bring in modernity, but more importantly, we must bring in speed and remove fraud, as well as corruption in the whole sector. That is the direction in which we are headed, and we will get there. Last year, we published the raw water pricing strategy as part of promoting efficient water management and following a process initiated in 2022 under Operation Vulindlela. This will be key to promoting transparency on how raw water is priced in the country, and it will also contribute towards instilling business and investor confidence. Creating an enabling legal and regulatory framework for water stewardship is a priority. Through the Water Services Amendment Bill, we will introduce a licensing system for water service providers and remove licenses where providers do not meet the standards for quality drinking water. By next year, we hope to finalize the establishment of the National Water Resource Infrastructure Agency, one of the most significant reforms coming to the sector to date. When I looked at just the water architecture in our country, and it was in the 6th administration where I think for the first time in many years we were able to have a broad architectural analysis of water in our country. It then inspired us to move towards having an authority that will make things happen, and happen very quickly. One of the things that we did in the past was to introduce, for instance, and establish the road agency, SANDRAL. When we did, we were then able to lay out roads throughout our country much more effectively and efficiently. And this is precisely what we are also seeking to achieve through this agency. So this agency will bring strategic alignment, consistency and accountability to the various institutional arrangements for water stewardship that have to date proven to be less than ideal. As we do all these things, we have implemented a number of strategic interventions to enhance the delivery of water services in municipalities and support them to address their water and sanitation challenges. One of such interventions where we are seeing sustained progress is with the Presidential eThekwini Working Group in KwaZulu-Natal. The ongoing oversight of the Presidential Water Task Team will augment these efforts, and I'm pleased that some of its members are here today and can testify to the way in which it is improving the whole water system in eThekwini. Resolving our country's water and sanitation challenges necessitates deepened collaboration between all stakeholders in the water resource management system. And that is why I'm so pleased that there are so many participants from various subsectors of the water ecosystem. And there needs to be greater cooperation between the national and provincial government, the water resource management entities, and the private sector, as well as the local government sector, to support the turnaround of water stewardship. Now, if we treat water as a top priority that can sustain the lives of our people as well as drive economic growth in our country, it is in the water sector that we need to show our seriousness and our determination to resolve the challenges we have. And much of this focus must be on supporting service delivery at local government level where it matters most. It must be about resolving the problem of water leaks. I'm told that we lose up to 54% of our water through leakages along the whole value chain, apart from the theft that takes place. Now, structural reforms in the water sector, as vital as they may be, cannot be effectively implemented without local government being strengthened. My call, therefore, to national government as well as to provincial government is to use this Indaba as an opportunity to chart a practical course for supporting municipalities across the country in the delivery of water and sanitation. For example, municipalities are not effectively leveraging, for instance, the likes of the Urban Settlements Development Grant, the Municipal Infrastructure Grant, and other ring-fence financial resources to improve the provision of these services in their local areas. And it is when they wake up and are able to utilize these facilities, financing facilities, that they will be able to gain traction. And it is a shame when one often hears that municipalities have returned money to the fiscus without utilizing it, and yet the service delivery needs in their areas are so huge. Now, for its part, local government leadership needs to prioritize turnaround strategies for their respective water services authorities. It will be crucial that the recommendations of the 2024 Water Summit, as well as of the various reports, including the DROP reports, are actually implemented as part of their corrective plans. So this Indaba must therefore not become an exercise of problem diagnosing. We should not be here to diagnose the problem. We know what the problem is. We know the problem of water in our country. The challenges are well known. What is needed now is course correction. We need to correct what is going wrong. And we also need a comprehensive plan that will expand access to water and sanitation services, improve the quality of water and sanitation infrastructure, and bring stability and good governance to all the entities involved in the South African water stewardship. As I was coming in, one of those who are displaying their wares, they've been involved in the whole challenge of removing pit latrines in schools. And I asked them, why is it taking so long? Because we must treat the issue of sanitation as a life and death type of challenge. We've had children dying in pits in our schools, and that must come to an end. And we've got the technologies to bring that to an end. Please, let us save our children's lives in our schools through good sanitation. And there's just no reason why things that can be done take so long to be done. I'm now saying to my colleagues that with every memo they bring, with every proposal they bring, it should no longer just be what are the financial implications, what are the constitutional implications, what are the legal implications. I now say, what is the time frame? I want to see what the time frame is, because everything must be done in a hurry. Because we often take decisions, and after taking decisions, we park them to the side and leave them on the shelf and every day becomes mañana, 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 and we will see one other doing it another day. And we must now act quickly, and so quickly as it should be like saving a person from a burning house. And this is the emergency activity of implementation that we must now underpin everything we do. When we take a decision, we must say, when is it going to be implemented? It should no longer be, will it be implemented? It should now be, when will it be implemented? Once we've done the financial costing. It has been said many a time that as humans, we can survive for a time without food, but without water, there is no life, and we will perish. Others have argued that unless we radically change our approach to managing this precious resource, the wars of the next century will be fought over water. Now, the people of South Africa look forward to this water and sanitation Indaba with a measure of hope. And some are skeptical, as can be understood, because they've often seen us holding many Indabas, and we always delay in implementing what we have decided. But let us increase their hope, and let us come up with a clear strategy and a plan on how to uphold the dignity of South Africans through the provision of the most important resource that all of us need as humans, including animals. All of us as creations on this earth, we need water. And we also need sanitation services that are, and this is a basic right. We also look to this Indaba for a clear vision for ensuring South Africa's water security well into the future. So, colleagues, I wish you well as you endeavor to find solutions, and solutions you will, in fact, I should say, you must find, because this is an emergency. The challenge of water in our country is an emergency. So I wish you well in your deliberations, and I look forward to the Minister of Water and Sanitation, who today, as you can see, is dressed like water itself, will come and report back to me. Thank you very much.